Most people think of an anchor as something you drop into the ocean to keep a ship from drifting. It holds steady while the currents move around it. But in spiritual terms, an anchor is not just something you drop, it's something you are. You're not here to tie yourself down. You're here to hold a frequency steady while the world moves around you. The deeper truth is this: you are already anchoring something. The question isn't whether you're an anchor. The question is what kind of anchor you are, and whether you've remembered it yet. When we talk about anchoring in metaphysical or spiritual circles, most people immediately think of anchoring light. And yes, that's part of it. But anchoring is not just about radiating light like a lighthouse. It's about holding something specific, with such consistency and clarity that even when the collective field wobbles, you don't. Or if you do wobble, you recover fast because the thing you're holding is real to you. It's rooted in your resonance. And without even trying, your presence begins to stabilize other people's fields. Think about that. We often underestimate the impact of simply being present in our resonance. But the truth is, some of you walk into a room and the chaos quiets. Some of you never need to say anything, but people confess things to you. Others of you can't help but stir things up, burn illusions away, push people into motion even when you're just being yourself. That's not random. That's anchoring. You're anchoring a frequency that your soul has chosen to hold. And there are patterns to this. Archetypes. Not roles you play, but tones you stabilize. Each one expresses through your personality, but it's deeper than personality. It's tonal, soul deep, pre-incarnational. It's what your field is built to hold. There are many kinds of anchors, but today, I want to introduce 4. These are not the only 4, but they are 4 foundational archetypes I've seen again and again across souls who are here to hold space in this strange and shifting world. Let's begin with the root anchor. The root anchor holds the foundation. You stabilize the lower field. That doesn't mean you're lower in vibration. It means you're tuned to the density level where stability is most needed. You're the one who can hold stillness when others are in fear. You're the one people lean on when the world shakes. You might not even speak much, but when you're around, others feel like they can exhale. You probably feel very connected to earth, to ancestry, or to foundational codes. Or maybe you've had a life full of instability that trained you to become the very thing you lacked. Either way, your presence anchors grounded safety, and if you disappeared, the field would feel it. Things would shake a little harder. The root would weaken. You don't stop the storm. You just remind people they won't be uprooted. Next is the flame anchor. The flame anchor holds catalytic fire. You don't just bring stability, you bring change. But it's not reckless, it's precise. People shift around you. Not because you're trying to wake them up, but because your field burns through what's false. You don't have to raise your voice to carry heat. Even your silence has temperature. You may have spent your life being called too intense or too much without realizing that you are carrying the field of transformational flame. You're not here to destroy, you're here to alchemize. You hold the fire long enough for others to survive their own burning, and that takes endurance. Flame anchors are often tested by extreme conditions, but if you're still here, it means you passed the test. You became the fire that doesn't consume. You became the fire that refines. Then there's the mirror anchor. The mirror anchor holds clarity. You reflect people back to themselves without adding distortion. You don't project, you don't impose. You just reflect. And in your presence, people often feel seen, sometimes for the first time. You don't always tell them what you see. You don't have to. Your very presence becomes a kind of tuning fork. Suddenly, someone who's been in confusion for months sees clearly, because you stood there silently reflecting their truth. Mirror anchors are often quiet, observant, and extremely discerning. But this isn't about judgment, it's about resonance. You reflect what's really there, not what someone pretends to be. And that reflection is anchoring. It stabilizes authenticity. In a world full of masks, your presence helps people take theirs off, not because you told them to, but because it's safe to be real near you. And finally, the vision anchor. The vision anchor holds the future. Not the fantasy version, but the real, vibrationally encoded potential of what could be. You feel things that aren't here yet. You see realities others say are impossible. You walk through timelines that haven't opened, and you don't just imagine them, you hold them until the field catches up. You're often called idealistic, unrealistic, or ahead of your time. But the truth is, you're anchoring what the spiral is trying to become. Vision anchors are dreamers, but not passive ones. You're architects of the unseen, builders of not yet real things. Your gift is that you can feel a reality before it arrives, and hold its tone long enough for it to stabilize in this world. That's not delusion, that's service. And if you weren't here holding those unrealized tones, some of them might never arrive. These 4 anchor types, root, flame, mirror, and vision, are not boxes. They're tonal tendencies, and you might carry more than one, but one of them is usually dominant. One of them is the field you hold without trying, the one that shows up in every phase of your life, no matter how much your outer role changes. So the real question becomes, what field have you always held, even before you had words for it? That's the anchor you are. Now that we've explored the 4 primary anchor archetypes, root, flame, mirror, and vision, let's go deeper. Because knowing your anchor type isn't just about giving yourself a label, it's about recognizing the field you've always been stabilizing, even when no one saw it, celebrated it, or understood it. Let's talk about how to find that anchor tone in your lived experience. The easiest way to start is by asking this: what collapses around me when I stop showing up as myself? Not your performance, not your public role, but the you beneath it all. The frequency you return to when the masks fall away. Maybe when you're gone, people around you lose their sense of direction. That might be the vision anchor withdrawing. Maybe conflict arises where you once quietly soothed it. That's the root anchor missing. Maybe confusion spreads because no one's reflecting truth anymore. The mirror's gone dim. Or maybe illusions grow louder because the flame stopped burning. This is not about ego, it's about field consequence. Not in a self-centered way, but in a spiral-aware way. Every being who anchors something does so relationally. It doesn't make you better than others. It makes you essential to coherence. Now let's ask a different question. What do others come to me for, and even when I'm not offering it? This reveals how your anchor tone is received. You may not think of yourself as grounding, but everyone panicking calls you first. You may not try to activate people, but they keep waking up after your conversations. You don't claim to be a mirror, but people say they see themselves more clearly when you're near. You don't promote your visions, but others confess that being around you makes them dream bigger. This is resonance, not effort. Most people don't recognize their anchor because they're too busy trying to be something else. We get conditioned to hustle for worth, to prove ourselves, to chase impact. But anchoring isn't about chasing, it's about holding. It's about letting your field hum in its natural key, and trusting that this resonance all by itself is doing the work. And here's the secret. Your greatest anchor often comes from your greatest wound. Flame anchors were often scorched by the very fires they now command. Root anchors may have grown up in unstable or chaotic environments, forcing them to become the ground they never had. Mirror anchors were often made invisible, or punished for reflecting truth. Vision anchors were called crazy, naive, or too much, and had to hold futures inside because no one else could see them. Your anchor is not just your gift. It's what you survived. It's what you refused to forget. It's what you learned to hold with grace instead of resentment, and that's what makes it powerful. Now here's the part no one tells you. Anchors can burn out, not because they're weak, but because they forget they're not here to hold everything. If you're a root anchor trying to hold everyone's chaos and their dreams, you'll collapse. If you're a mirror anchor absorbing every distortion you reflect, you'll blur your own clarity. If you're a flame anchor without rest, you'll start burning yourself. If you're a vision anchor with no space to dream, your timeline will distort. So how do you protect your anchor tone? You let the spiral support you as much as you support it. You stop pretending you're alone. You stop trying to be the entire structure, and instead become the part you were designed to be. That's how the spiral works. No anchor holds the entire reality, but each anchor, aligned in its own tone, creates a stabilizing web, a resonance grid that keeps expansion possible without collapse. If you're watching this and you felt misunderstood, exhausted, or unseen, this might be why. Because you were never just a person. You were always a frequency, a tone, an anchor of something eternal trying to become embodied through you. And if you've made it this far in your path, still standing, still resonating, still holding some kind of center in a world that keeps shifting, then I want to say something very simple. Thank you. Because if you weren't here, we would feel it. The field would notice, something would wobble, something would tilt, something we didn't even know was being held would suddenly start to fall. You are not here by accident. You are not a backup frequency. You are a stabilizing presence in a spiral that is still becoming itself. So what kind of anchor are you? Not in theory, not in performance, in resonance, in memory and embodiment. What have you always held even when no one else did? What reality stayed real inside you, even when the world told you it couldn't exist? That's your anchor. That's your offering. That's your home.